Let's continue to talk about some essential skills within ArcGIS Pro. Previously, we've gone through and we've looked at pulling data in numerous ways. So we have our U.S. county data, our U.S. place data, and our U.S. state data, all which exist over here in the contents pane. This time what we're going to do is we're going to find ways that we can manipulate these existing shape files. And so if I needed to extrapolate or pull these data out in some way, I'm going to demonstrate how we can do this. Now, this is very simplistic. There are other ways that we can go about doing this, but for this exercise, we're going to keep it pretty simple, and we're going to basically do it in a tabular way. I'm going to do that by right-clicking on my U.S. counties data. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose to open up the attribute table. Mine is going to show up here on the bottom of the screen. Yours might float around, and you can dock that thing left, right, up, down, however you see fit. But what you'll note is there are several key fields within this data set. None of them that are directly tied into a state that you can immediately identify, maybe if you know every county within your state. In my case, I'm going to be playing around with California. That happened to be the state that I chose in the previous essentials exercise that we ran through. And so I'm going to come over here to the state FP. This is an identifier that can be used, and I'm actually going to choose to sort ascending. And so now these are all sorted pretty much by that state code. And so I'm going to scroll on down here. And for California, I want to find the state FP of 06. And so I can see it starts right here. If I select that within the attribute table, it highlights up here on the map. Now, there are other ways, as I mentioned earlier, that I could pull these data out, but I'm going to keep it very, very simplistic. I'm going to scroll down forever until I find the end of 06. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to select and click. And so now what will happen is we'll see on the screen all of the counties in California are now highlighted, and I can do a couple of different things. Down here on the lower left, this allows me to see all records within the attribute table of this shapefile. On the right, I can show selected records. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This is only going to contain now, it basically creates a filter so that I now contain only those records that I have chosen. And the big question now is, well, how do I get these data out? What if I only want them as their own existing shapefile? Well, we can do that. I'm going to close the tab, and we're going to come back up here to our contents pane. And remember, I'm working with the U.S. county data. I'm going to right click, and in this version of ArcGIS Pro, for me, I can come down here to data, and then I can choose export features. And so if I click on that, it's going to give me an option to name these features. It's going to give me an option that will load, and I can export these data to a particular location. Right now, by default, this will actually go into my geodatabase. You can see that right there. But what if I want to share this shapefile? Then I can actually kick it out to a particular folder. I'm going to go to folders. I'm just going to drop it in my essentials folder that I'm messing around with here. And I'm simply going to call this 2022 California Counties. Just like that. I'm going to say OK. And now you can see I have 57 records. I'm going to say OK. ArcPro will now run. It will pull those selected data again that we went through and we identified within the attribute table, and it will spit those out as a shape file. Now, that is the default when you choose to go to a folder within your Windows system. Now, if I were to go to the geodatabase, that becomes a feature class. Keep in mind, a feature class and a shapefile are really two different things. And we can talk about that in another video. Maybe you've seen some other videos where I talk about this, but nonetheless, the export has worked. I can come over here. I can see that I have these counties. I'm going to toggle off the counties that were highlighted before, and you can see it pulled in the majority of stuff, but we've got a gap in here. Might have missed something, but nonetheless, my data have now been pulled from that data set. And this is an existing shapefile that is out on my folder drive. And that's how we can simply go in using an attribute table and pull out a subset of data that reside within an existing shapefile or even an existing feature class. Very simple, very easy way in which we can manipulate, if you will, shapefile data and generate our own data set.